What's happening, family? Listen, I'm back with another video. I wanted to drop this video real quick and discuss some of the red flags that I caught on the Narcissist social media page, like during the relationship and after the relationship, before I actually blocked her. It didn't take me very long to block her after the discard, so I didn't catch a lot of the activity that was going on after the discard, but I will give you some of the red flags that I saw in the relationship. But first, if you are new here, go ahead and hit the sub button and hit the notification bell so y'all can get all of the upcoming videos. And I'm gonna go ahead and get right into the content on this one. So one of the very first red flags that I saw with the narcissist that I was dealing with on her social media was the blocking and the unblocking. Like, she would have her page up and then all of a sudden it would just disappear. And I was like, and at first it didn't really raise a lot of red flags at that time, because I was just like, maybe some people get tired of being on social media and some people need a break from social media, that kind of thing. Because I get like that. I get like that with myself. It's like social media can be overwhelming sometimes. So sometimes I get to the point where I'm like, okay, I need to take a week or two off and, not post anything, or even, not necessarily not post anything, but just take some time just away to focus on other things in my life, focus on other priorities that I got going on. Like, social media will take up a lot of our personal time. So that was one of the first red flags that I would see, is that she would just, her page would come up and down and up and down. And when I first saw that, like I said, it didn't raise any red flags until I saw it repetitively happening. And I'm like, why, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on with your social media page? And she always had some type of weird excuse about it. But we wasn't in like any type of turmoil at that time. So I didn't really have any reason to, think that it was being done maliciously for any reason, or whatever the case may be. So that was the first one. The second one that I noticed is she had a brother that, well, she has two brothers. One of them she gets along with very, very well, because he pretty much is like the baby in the situation, and he does everything for her. He does everything without really questioning her at all, from what I've seen from me being around the situation for the period of time that I was involved. So that brother she gets along with very well, but she has another brother, an older brother, that they bump heads. Like, they don't get along very well at all. So in person, I got a chance to see them bickering back and forth, and I can tell that they really have like this, I'm not gonna say they don't love each other, of course, like they're siblings, so I'm sure that there's some level of, but we're talking about narcissists here, so they probably don't actually love, their siblings, or anybody else for that matter. But she would, like, behind closed doors, they would argue all the time. They would be beefing, like, at each other. And it was like, I couldn't understand, because me and my sister are pretty close, like very close. And then not only are we very close, like, her and I might, have a falling out or a beef or whatever the case may be, but I don't care what happens outside of that. Like, anything in the streets that happens, we click tight, we together. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my sister. I'm gonna always have her back. She gonna always have mine. So, and we, it's been battle tested, like, it's been proven, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, I don't even have to really question that when it comes to my sister. So I couldn't really understand why they would be beefing and bickering so much, with them being so close in age, going to school together and all of that kind of stuff. And I couldn't really see why they had so much friction in between them. But there was just this like ongoing, recurring beef that it seemed like it stemmed from like childhood. It seemed like it stemmed from, it was deep seated. But what I noticed with her social media page is, like, on Christmas or Thanksgiving or something like that, they would take pictures, and they would take pictures together, and she would post them on social media, and she would post pictures of her brother, the same one that she had a problem with. Behind closed doors, she had they had a big, huge problem with each other, but on social media, she would say, "Oh my God, I love this picture of us." It would be like her and her brothers and stuff like that, and she'd be like, "Oh my God, I love this picture of us. I love my brother so much, and this, that, and the third." And I'm looking at the situation, and I'm like, "This the same dude you was just like," because she got to venting to me about him several times. So I'm like, "You was just dragging this dude like through the mud. You was just dragging his name through the mud, telling me he was abusive, and he was this and he was that, and he did this and he did that, and all of these type of things." So it was like, I'm looking at the situation, and I'm like, why are you putting on that front to the world if y'all really don't get along like that? You know what I'm saying? But it wasn't really none of my business. It's like that sibling love and that sibling rivalry type of thing. So it wasn't really none of my business. So I just said, I'm going to stay out of it. But I just noticed that she was putting on a front for the world of their relationship being better than what it was. And so that was kind of like another red flag to me. That was like, okay. Then the third red flag that I caught was she would present herself as a good mother. Like, she presented herself as an extremely good mother. Like, so even right now, she still continues to do that. So during the week, most of the time, this is the pattern that I picked up on when I was dealing with her. When I was dealing with her, she already had another son. This son was getting a little bit older, so she felt like she had a little bit of freedom to just run the streets and do that, get back to her old ways. So she would leave her son with a family member. She would leave her son with her mother or one of her aunts or, one of her cousins, anybody, while she out running the streets chasing, supply. We just gonna call it supply, but we know what she was chasing, y'all. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, she, even when I was in the mix, I would notice that she wouldn't spend a lot of personal time with her first son. Before I had a child with her, she wouldn't spend a lot of time with him, even like just on the weekends, or like she would do the mandatory stuff that she had, like pick him up from school, bring him home, fake like she was checking his homework, like as if she cared about, his well-being or any of that kind of stuff. And she would do that type of thing, but then that was like the extent of her raising him. You know what I'm saying? So on the weekends, like I said, I dedicate my time. And even if I had my son full custody, if I had him full time right now, I would still figure out a way to dedicate my time to his development and his upbringing and making sure he's emotionally stable and all of that kind of stuff, especially knowing that I'm co-parenting with somebody that doesn't have the capacity to do that. So with me, sitting back and realizing that, okay, this person is not in a real position to actually care for these kids, but she's trying to present herself as this perfect parent on social media. So she would post pictures of her son, and she would be like, "Oh, I love my boy so much, this, that, and the third," but she would never actually spend any quality time with him. He was always at somebody else's house while she was at my house or at another supplier's house, and she was out here, moving around like Knox do. So she was out here, shaking and grooving, and she would just drop her son and leave her son wherever, you know what I'm saying? But on social media, you couldn't tell that. And even when I became the new supply, when I came into the situation, she presented herself like that's one of the ways that she got me hooked into the situation of actually having another child with her, because she presented so well as a great mother. You know what I'm saying? Like, she literally went out of her way to only call me in times where she was in that mothering mode. Like, she would literally wait to call me while she was probably dealing with other supply, when in her free time, she was probably over their house doing her, doing her thing over there, and jumping back and forth in between me and them and all of that kind of stuff. But what she would do was she would show me the pieces of her that she wanted me to see. So she would call me while she was checking his homework, and I would hear in the background like her being a mother. You know what I'm saying? Or she would call me when she was dropping him off at school, and it was like almost like clockwork. It was like she was trying to condition me into understanding that, oh yeah, I'm a great mother. I'm a great mother. I'm a great mother. And she would always say little sayings to the little boy when he would get out the car for school, like, oh, be a leader, not a follower, all of that kind of stuff. And I used to like appreciate that, because I'm like, okay, she's telling us, she's giving him, I felt like that was, good advice at that time, not realizing that she was, her motives was probably totally different for saying that. Now that I know what narcissism is, and now that I understand a little bit more about the psychology behind what's going on with her internally, I'm pretty sure she didn't mean it the same way that I took it. But when she said it, I would take it like, that's a positive thing. Like, she's telling him to be a leader, you know what I'm saying, and telling him not to, be following the crowd and all of that kind of stuff, which I felt like that was good advice at that time. But like I said, now looking a little bit deeper into it, I don't know, I feel a little bit different about it now. But so she would post things about her son at that time, and it would always seem like she was just the perfect mom to the outside world. But now I'm getting to know her a little bit better, and now I'm seeing like, well, you sneak off in the middle of the night and you come to my house just to have sex. And I would speak, you know what I'm saying? Like, at first, I didn't know that was what was happening, but she would always complain about her mother, saying, oh, my mother was upset because I left out the house and I left her with my son, and I came to your house and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, why don't you just tell your mother what's going on? Like, like I said, I felt like she, at this time, she was almost 40 years old. We was like 30, like 38, you know what I'm saying, like 37, 38 years old. So I couldn't understand why she wouldn't just open up to her mother and just have a conversation with her and just let her know, like, hey, you know what I'm saying, I'm interested in somebody, we dating, and I went to go spend the night with my friend, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't see the big deal in that at that time, but one thing about the narcissist is, especially if they have narcissistic parents, it don't matter how old the child is, that parent still runs the show, you know what I'm saying? So everything, I feel like my narcissist was bad, but she was even worse because her mother was enabling her, which was an even worse or higher level narcissist, which is what I believe. You know what I'm saying? Now I believe that her mother is the one that gave her the game. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like a pimp and a hoe. You know what I'm saying? It's like it really seems like her mother is the one that turned her on and turned her out to being the type of person that she is right now. So, like I said, that's just one of the, another one of the things that I noticed in a situation that I'm like, you present yourself very well as a good mother, but now I'm starting to, see the holes in the situation, because you come into my house and you being real sneaky about stuff that I didn't feel like you needed to be sneaky about, because I was wide open with it. Like, I would tell my mother, like, if I was dating somebody or anything like that, I would just, hey, mom, yeah, and I got that type of relationship with my mother. But it seemed like she was always hiding something. It was like always, it was never anything that was like, look, this is just what it is, and this is what's going on. And it was always just like this level of secrecy that was going on. It was, she was very secretive to her family, and then it started kind of trickling over to me, where I felt like she was open to me. But then when I started looking back, and I'm like, well, she said a whole lot, but she ain't really say nothing. You know what I'm saying? So they got a way of spinning you and giving you information, but not really saying what's really going on. You know what I'm saying? And I was just kind of thrown off behind the fact that, like, why would you lie to your mother or be sneaking around behind your mother's back? And why don't you just tell her the truth? You're a grown woman, and we both grown. We both responsible. Like, at that time, I'm thinking we're both responsible adults. I had my own home. I got this, that, and the third. And even I was at the point of, even if she needed to bring her child with her at that time, then that was an option because I was open to it. It was like, okay, me and you are dating. I know you have a son. You told me about your son at the beginning of us dating. So it's not like I came into the situation and didn't know about him at all. So it was, it always kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I'm like, why are you hiding these things? Why are you being so secretive with your mother and all of that kind of? It never made sense to me. Now it makes perfect sense to me, and a lot of it was she was in the middle of smearing me to her mother because she knows she had other options on the table. So she couldn't make me seem like this great catch to her entire family, because if she would have made me seem like that, and if that would have played out the way that it actually was, like I was actually that person in her life I was the stability in her life. I was probably the emotional support, the one that was always there and the one that she could always come to because I was like a solid friend. You know what I'm saying? I was a real solid friend in her life at that time. And even when she was on her little moves where she would pop in and out, as long as she didn't disrespect me, like even now, I feel like if she had never if she had never introduced the disrespect and the level of disrespect that she did, she probably still could have got away with a lot, and we could have still maintained our friendship because I wasn't expecting a whole lot from her at that time. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't, it, it was like I was cool with our friendship being the way that it was because I felt like we respected each other. I wasn't pressuring her to be anything more than what she wanted to be to me, except for the fact that just keep it within the guidelines of respect. Don't be walking around, don't be blatantly, throwing dudes in my face and all of that kind of stuff. Don't be blatantly, withholding my child from me and all of that kind of stuff. And that's the type of stuff that was going on. It was like the disrespect had got super real after she got pregnant with my son. So yeah, that's just another one of the red flags that I saw is like she would post about her son and she would make it seem like she was this excellent mother. And then all of a sudden she would, like behind the scenes, she wouldn't be the mother that she was posting that she was. She was presenting herself she was presenting herself way better than she actually was as a mother and still is. And so now that goes into like now she still continuously does that even with my child. So you got to look at it like this. A zebra don't change his stripes, so she's out here still moving around, still moving and grooving, still, dropping her son, like just the same way she did with her first son. Now she has two sons. She has one by me now. So, and he's a 2-year-old. She's leaving him with this family member or that family member. And see, I'm not supposed to know anything about that kind of stuff because we're in that gray rock, no contact phase or whatever the case may be. So I'm not supposed to understand what's going on behind the scenes. I'm not supposed to see any of that, which is absolutely crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you think that I can't just see through I can see through. I quote her in so much nonsense because I could read between the lines. I saw a lot of the stuff that was going on without actually having to see what was going on. I'm like, you moving funny? Okay, you must be doing this. And then I was like so dead on and so accurate that I just kept catching her in lie after lie after lie after lie. And once I started catching her in so many lies, she couldn't really defend herself no more. So the only defense that she had was to just get away from it. So she dissipated, she ran, and started playing like social media games. So, and that's around the time that this is towards the end of the relationship, but that's when I blocked her, and that's when I got rid of her and her entire family. I blocked everybody at that point, and that's what I encourage you guys to do. Is like, if you get to the opportunity, especially if you're on the other side of the relationship, if you out and but you still have ties to their family members. I don't care if you thought they was cool, if you thought that these people were your good friends, all of that kind of stuff. Cut them all off. You can always add them back later if they are actually genuinely good friends or genuinely didn't have anything to do with the narcissist manipulation or any of that kind of stuff. You can always add them back later. That's how I look at any situation. And if I bump into any of them in the streets, I don't have no problem telling them, like, listen, for my own personal protection or for my own sanity, I had to, block you on social media. I don't have no problems telling nobody that. So, be strong in your beliefs of what you have to do for you. You know what I'm saying? And I had to block, like I said, I blocked a city of folks because the narcissist and I grew up together and we went to like elementary school together. So we knew so many of the same people that I had. It wasn't just like, oh, okay, you have to block, a few family members here and there. No, I had to block like, man, hundreds. I had to block, at least, I would say at least 100. I would say I had to block at least 100 people just to keep my own sanity in the situation because I did not know who was who and who was what in the situation. I couldn't figure out. It was too many players in the game at that time, so I just got rid of I just wiped the whole slate clean and blocked everybody on my social media just so nobody would be a distraction to my healing journey. And that's just something that I made sure that I got rid of anybody that I felt like was connected to her or her family. Anybody, I don't care who it was, whether I felt like, they weren't that close to them or not, I cut them off. And like I said, I could always add them back later. That's, and that's the thing about social media. It's like, man, we get so hung up on how social media moves and we don't realize that we're still in control of our own privacy and things like that. So if you get a chance, block them. I blocked everybody, and to this day they've been blocked and they're still blocked. It's going on 2 years and her entire family is blocked on my social media, other than maybe 1 or 2 people that have created fake pages and they might be lurking and trying to figure out what I got going on. But I think I've done a pretty good job of blocking everybody and then not accepting, a whole lot of new people on my page. So that was just another one of the things that I noticed in that situation was, she would try to manipulate the perception to the world of her being a great mother or her being very active in the children's life. And she tried to make it seem like her and her brother were, the best of friends and all of that kind of stuff. And that wasn't the case either. I know, like I said, I've seen how they interact behind the scenes, and it's almost like no love there at all. So when I saw that picture, it was kind of like, damn, like, it seemed like y'all cool in the picture, you know what I'm saying? But I've seen y'all behind closed doors. So that was, another example of what I meant about, some of the ways that they fake on social media. So another thing that I noticed was, now I'm dealing with her. I never questioned her about her loyalty. I never said anything to her about cheating. I never said, because I had never caught her in it, number one. And then number two, I'm thinking that because of our history and because of how long I've known her and her family and things like that, I wasn't even thinking on the lines of that was an option. And then all of the attention that she was giving me during the love bomb, I couldn't even see where she had time to, be entertaining anybody else. And she pursued me so heavily, like, what I'm saying? I never pursued her. So I'm like, okay, well, this woman is actually, she seems to actually be more interested in me than I am in her. And we have history together, and we not only do we have history together, but we also have always been cool. I'm thinking like, okay, cool. That's, we can get along. And I that's where I dropped my guard at. I dropped my guard by thinking that, like I said, because we had previous history, that this was something that I could at least work with, and that was going to have respectful boundaries because we grew up together. We was like, nah, if anybody is gonna have your back, it's gonna be somebody that you came up with, and that's how you think. That's how, at that time that I was thinking. I was totally blind to the fact that even people that grow up with you can be enemies. You know what I'm saying? Even people that, people are taught to be takers in this world. And, when you have a given spirit and you have a given heart, it just make you a target for those type of people. You know what I'm saying? Um, so yeah, it was just like she would post stuff that nobody asked her about. You know what I'm saying? This is how they tell on themselves as well. She would. I'm gonna give y'all an example of what I mean by that. So, she would post stuff like, "I'm not perfect." Like it would be a meme, and the meme might say something like, "I may not be perfect, but at least I'm loyal." And I would be sitting back because I'm thinking that I'm the only supply at that time because I didn't even know there was a supply, new supply, old supply. I didn't know about narcissism or any of that kind of stuff. She was presenting herself to be in a one-on-one relationship with me at that time, and she would post things that said stuff like, like that. She would post stuff like, well, at least, at least I'm loyal, and I'm like, who questioned your loyalty? You know what I'm saying? Like I was really confused as to because I'm like I didn't say anything about you being loyal or any of that kind of stuff. And what I didn't realize is that she probably had either new supply on the other side that she was going through turmoil or friction with, and she things that message could have very well been for him. You know what I'm saying? Like that message, she could have been shooting that message to him, and the whole time I'm sitting over here thinking on my side of things like why would she post that? Like, you know what I'm saying? I never questioned her loyalty. I never questioned whether she was dating somebody else or not. Like, and at the time, and this is where you have to heal yourself because at the time, I didn't even care if she was dating somebody else. You know what I'm saying? That's how, that's how much healing that I needed. You know what I'm saying? For my own childhood traumas and things like that. That's how much healing that I needed for myself. Is that I didn't even care if she was dating somebody else, as long as she kept it respectful. And that's what I thought. At that time, I'm thinking like, there's a way to keep you dating somebody else respectful. It's really no way to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, it is. It's like rules to the game. If you want to play that type of game, but now I realize that that was a game that I should never have been playing in the first place. And I hope that you guys understand what I'm saying as far as that goes. Is like um, some of the things that we accept because we were probably raised in toxic situations, and some of the things that we accept growing up in life have groomed us to accept people cheating and people doing all of the type of stuff that they do. And not saying that, because everybody has made their mistakes in relationships and situations and all of that kind of stuff. Not saying that just it's not only narcissists that cheat or any of that kind of stuff, but it's at the same time it's like it's certain things that we shouldn't allow from abusers that we do allow because we've been groomed to accept that from childhood. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I had to learn about myself. Is like, wait a minute, why am I even accepting the fact that, why am I cool with the fact that this woman is, because that's how low my standards was at that time, I guess. You know what I'm saying? My standards was just like, listen, she don't have to be my wife. I'm not even looking for her to be a wife or any of that kind of stuff. So as long as she don't disrespect me and do nothing in my face, and you know what I'm saying, I'm like that. I had lowered my standards so much to the point where I was at that point of just accepting the fact that as long as they ain't put it in my face, and as long as they didn't, bring me anything sexually or anything like that, and as long as none of these dudes try to pull up on me in the streets or any of that kind of stuff, then I was just accepting of anything else that was going on. Because I couldn't even imagine, I didn't even want to think about what else was going on behind the scenes or behind closed doors. So most guys get like that. It's like we get with women and we date with women, and we don't even want to think about how this same woman was moving with other guys and stuff like that, because it's just like, it's just, that's something that we just train kind of to like turn that, we kind of turn that switch off, because we know you probably had dealt with other guys, and the same stuff that you may have done with us, you may have done with other guys and all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like a switch that, as long as it ain't no disrespect, and as long as it ain't no health issues or nothing like that coming off of the situation, then it's like, we kind of train to, why even ask questions about my past? Why even ask questions? But that's one of the things that I've learned to do in this situation is you got to ask questions. Ask these questions about people's past and all of that kind of stuff. So, like I said, she would kind of tell on herself by just dropping little hints and saying, hey, at least I'm loyal, or at least I'm this, or at least I'm that, and she would always drop little memes like that, where I'm like, who asked you that? You know what I'm saying? Who said anything about you being loyal or any of that kind of stuff? And like I said, I was probably looking at it from my standpoint, and that message probably wasn't even for me. Or if it was for me, it was just to kind of solidify the fact that, because I'm like, I never asked you about being loyal, but if she's posting stuff like that, she probably figures that, I'm looking at it and I'm seeing, okay, well, and I'm thinking, well, maybe she is loyal because she's posting something like this, and she's posting, hey, maybe I'm not perfect, so maybe she's posting that because her and I are starting to have a little bit of friction here and there, and so maybe she's trying to let me know that, she's not perfect, but she's in it for the long haul with me or something like that. So, that's one of the things that when it first happened, when I first saw it, it kind of raised that red flag to me. And now, after being on the other side of the discard, now I see it for exactly what it is. And so I just wanted to drop these few examples and hope that it helps some of you guys to understand what's going on with their social media and how they try to manage the perception on social media, and hope that you guys can catch some of these red flags, but and get out of the situation before it gets worse for yourselves like it did for me. So I just wanted to drop that video, man. I love you guys. I will talk to y'all in a minute. I will probably try to get a few more videos out this week. God willing, I have time. But I will talk to y'all in a minute. Love you guys. And if y'all are new here, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see y'all in a minute.